Okay, part two here. So this is what's going on with the with the tri-note pattern stacks. It's the same 10-note pattern stack. This is the same as this. Okay, 10-note pattern stack, just barely showing every single one of those notes. Except we don't have the 4 here. I can tell you right now, we don't have the 4 there. That's the only note that's missing there, is the 4. So there you go. There's a complete 10-note pattern stack. And this is 10 notes so that we can have 3 to 3, 6 to 6, 2 to 2, 5 to 5, and 7 to 7. And when we take those those groups of 6 strings each, okay, and warp the tops over, we get our 5 caged shapes. 5 caged keys of caged. They're either caged shapes or the keys of caged. So we get the C that starts on the 3. The one that starts on the 6 is the G shape. Notice the G there. That means E becomes the 6th of G. Here in the C shape, E is the 3rd of C. Blah, blah, blah. G shape, D shape, E is the 2nd of D. A shape, E is the 5th of A. And the E shape, E is the 7th. E is the 7th of F. Okay, so in the E shape, we're using the root there. So the E is the special case that it doesn't say F shape. It says E shape, but it's an E-shaped F. Or actually, this is an E-shaped D. Okay, the root would be the E there. If you want E to be the 7, talking about what E is, then you'd have your F. Okay, my bad there. So that's how we get, that's the pattern stack that gives us the 5 caged shapes. And that's all you need with guitar. It's a system that works on 5 shapes. So what I've done here is the tri-note pattern stack. It's the same pattern stack that we were just looking at before. This one's fixed for the majors and this one's fixed for the minors here, and we'll get to that. But as you know, if you have a root here, its relative minor is going to be the 6th. Okay, root relative minor is the 6th. Okay, so that's what having to do with the minor pattern stack. Okay, so being that the root, the 4th, and the 5th have the same shape, I put them on the same pattern stack. So the important thing to remember here is that pattern stacks are not fretboards. They are pattern stacks. And the only part of the fretboard that they really would emulate would be the bottom 4 strings. Because you've got the P4 tuning down there. Now on the top 2 strings you got P4 tuning also. Okay, and then on infinitum, if you had an infinitely strung instrument, you'd have all P4 tuning up here. Up and up and up. Okay, so it'd be, or it'd be the 4th of that, so it'd be then the 4th of sorry, I went to the 5th. The 4th of B is E. So that would be in the no string, no play zone. So it's best to just look at the bottom 4 strings of your guitar, and there are some bass instruments that are P4 tuning. So everything you do is easy. P4 tuning. You can, then the rest of it's just use your ear and play. But we have the tuning third, so I had to make the pattern stacks first. So remember, the pattern stack is just a generic, it's like a footprint, okay? It's like a footprint, and so we can do the major pattern stack here. Now these numbers here are all the same, okay? And I've made this simpler, so let's move on. Let's move on to the charts. In the charts, we've got the major and also the minor. Let's just finish the minor here. The minor relative root or local root. So if I do a D minor, its local root would be D. I'm talking local root, okay? But that's not the way we're looking at it. That's the other way of looking at it that we'll get to. We'll get to that today. So this root is still the relative root. So when I say R, I'm talking about that root. So this first Aeolian minor is actually in first inversion, root 3/6. Okay, and then the Dorian is 4/6/2, is also in first inversion, and the Lydian 5/7/3 is also in first inversion. Okay, if you started down here, that would be the root of the arpeggio. And remember, if you have an on string interval here, here's an on string minor third. If you just arpeggiate it, it's just like a chord. That's what Bach said when I was taking my music of J.S. Bach class some million years ago. He said that if you can arpeggiate a chord just as well as if you played the chord itself. So this on string 6 to root here, to 3 to 6. Okay, that is your root Aeolian. And then starting from the second, I can do it down here. That would be your Dorian, and then that would be your Phrygian. And notice there's a major third. That's a major third right there, because you've already got your minor third on the lower string. So I put the 3 notes on each because you can follow these. They're exactly the same. So all 3 minors have the same arpeggio pattern, okay, in P4 tuning. So I put the 3 minors on the same note. Now the problem is, once we get to the fretboard, we'll learn that there's another way of looking at it, and you can look at this as a local root. So it might be easier to look over here as a local root. So instead of this being the root of the parent key, you can look at it as, say, this 4 here, because root would be root. The 4, you could look at that as this being the root. Okay, and in that case you would stay in the cage. So it's all about keeping your fingers on the strings there, and you would have like a C-shaped root. Okay,